look at me go! I unmuted this time. What a surprise! Bet y'all didn't expect that. There's a lot of y'all in here today. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces, a lot of faces that I'm not too familiar with. Let me just roll back through the chat real quick. Let's see, we got Get Me to the Community tab, Brick the Cycle, Skylar Champagne, Thomas Lawson, Stardust and Moonrocks, Twitch is the Bet, Mercy Guyan, Merrick Peeps, Mac May, lots of people, James Batson, can you please unban me? I don't know, who are you? I don't know anything about you being banned, your name doesn't even seem familiar to me. I'm sorry. I got no clue what you're talking about. Banned where? You're in the chat. You're in the chat. I don't know what's going on. Wowie is here saying Baba and, dare I say, a buoy. What's my thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League? Am I supposed to have thoughts? It doesn't exist yet. It's not here. I can't give thoughts on something that I don't know really anything about past a trailer. I mean, if you're asking how my thoughts on, like, I don't know what I'm expecting going into it, I gotta say not much. Probably some decent visuals and not so great storytelling. That's my thoughts on that, but like I can't give thoughts on the movie itself. Music friggin' rules. That's all. James set all that up. Maddie, have you seen the trailer for the new Mortal Kombat movie? I have not. Let's see. Oh, Batman Beyond himself is here. Well, there we go. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I'm here with very small Superman. If you weren't here last time, he was in the back of the book, and we ripped him out of here and put him up on the wall. Yeah, I know that I'm a little laggy. We had to set frame rate down a little bit to make things work at least with the camera, and even then it looks like I'm still getting some frame drops here and there. But you guys know how I've been talking about getting a new computer from James soon. The plan is to go grab that tomorrow. So hopefully come Saturday night's timeline stream, things should be running a lot more smoothly. So, you know, we got that to look forward to at least. Oh, let's see. Bob Mathis Friedman, Danny Buckle, Spider Kelvin. There we go. We got a lot of people in here today. Cameo Shadowness. Let's see. Did you hear about the Batman 89 blending elements from B-Test? I did. I'm very excited about that. And they got the Jokers as well. They got the DD twins and everything. Can smaller Superman defeat bigger Doomsday? Okay. So for those of you who aren't in the Discord, we have created a character, and by we I mean somebody else, but I've added my own influences to him, named Bigger Doomsday, where the only thing is he's Doomsday, but bigger. He's just a much bigger version of Doomsday, and he has a family, and nobody knows he's an alien. And he works as a sports reporter for ESPN, and honestly, he's the best version of Doomsday that there ever has been. But okay, I think I'm caught up with all of the everything. Oh, Josiah's here. Hey, Josiah, how's it going? A nice stash. Well, thank you. I've had it for oh God, almost a month, maybe a month and a half now. Is it spelled Doomsday with 3 O's or Doomsday with 2 A's? It's spelled Doomsday the way you would spell Doomsday, but it has the word bigger in front of it. But okay, let's hop on over. we're starting off with Chapter 2 today. We got through the prologue and Chapter 1 last time. Had a couple of notes regarding like the World Assembly and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I think that's where we left off, was the scene from Secret Origins where they did the World Assembly. I have the book right here in my hands, but they had a digital version available for free with a free trial of Kindle Unlimited on Amazon. And while I don't typically like to give Amazon money, I'll take it when Amazon gives me something for free. So I'm just gonna be reading it off of the Kindle Unlimited thing that I got going on right here in front of me, and I will I'll keep my my phone open. That way I can try to keep up with the chat while we're going through it, and we'll you know take stopping points every now and then, you know, catch up with y'all, put notes into our Will It Canon /timeline spreadsheet, all that kind of fun stuff. Who do you think will most likely die in the Suicide Squad 2021? Everybody. Knowing James Gunn, just everybody. Kill all of them. I still have the DVD for Secret Origins. Yeah, I think I've got one too, now that I'm thinking about it. Just wait until y'all learn about the Legion we created on there. Oh no! No, they can't have the Legion. But yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's hop into to Chapter 2, and you know, we'll go from there. I'll try to do like some fun voices for the cast, though I gotta say sometimes it is hard to try to keep those consistent. I still don't think I've figured out my Superman voice yet. Clark Kent tossed his shirt and pants onto an overstuffed chair in the corner of his bedroom, then flopped onto his bed, grabbing the remote and flipping on the TV. Sighing deeply, he propped a pillow behind his head, marveling at the fact that even a man of steel can feel beat after a full day of living a double life as a reporter and as Superman. 6 months had passed since his historic address before the World Assembly. During that time, he'd been even busier than usual. In addition to his work at the Daily Planet and WGBS TV, as well as his usual crime-fighting duties, Superman had been traveling the world, disarming each nation's stockpile of nuclear weapons. Hold on, Clark has a TV gig? I don't think we knew about that. That's interesting. Huh. Clark knew that tonight's newscast would feature a 6-month progress report on his disarmament efforts, and he was curious to see how his labors would be portrayed by the media. Smirking slightly at the logo for The Car Report. Smirking slightly as the logo for The Car Report flashed across his screen, Clark settled back and watched the handsome, sharp-featured news anchor with the mop of dark brown hair face the camera and confidently launch into his evening's broadcast. Good evening, the newscaster began. This is Snapper Carr reporting. It has now been 6 months since Senator Carter's dramatic disarmament plan was ratified. Superman has been working tirelessly, disarming hundreds of deadly warheads around the world. Clark yawned, then smiled at the mention of his tireless efforts. He watched his footage of Superman ripping the cover off a warhead, fusing its circuits with his heat vision, then tossing the useless weapon aside, unfurled on the screen. The camera panned over to a large pile of disarmed missiles, the result of Superman's hard work. The same scene was repeated at various locations around the world. Meanwhile, Snapper Carr continued, public support for the plan has swelled. The image on the TV screen switched to a shot of Carr himself on the street interviewing the leader of the protest movement, the same man who had been shouting in the Freedom Plaza on the day of the summit. Superman rocks! The young man exclaimed, flashing the two-fingered peace sign at the camera. Yet there are some who remain skeptical, Carr pointed out. A red blur streaked across Clark's screen, stopped suddenly, then materialized into the superhero known as the Flash, standing on a Metropolis sidewalk, being interviewed by Snapper Carr. "Hey, the big guy's heart's in the right place," the Flash said into Carr's microphone. "But give me a break! I'm the fastest man alive!" The Flash dashed off the left of the screen, vanishing in a heartbeat, then reappearing seconds later, zipping in from the right side, stopping next to Carr. "And even I can't be in 5 places at once. Although, the weather in Paris is very nice this evening, unlike Hong Kong, where it's pretty cold tonight. Hey, gotta run!" Whoosh! The Flash darted away, appearing as a momentary red smudge on the screen. Clark laughed softly and shook his head as the news reporter returned to Snapper Carr live in the studio. "Still, with more missiles being dismantled every day," Carr said, launching into his wrap-up, "most of us will sleep better tonight, knowing that Superman is watching over us." Whoop! Clark tapped the off button on his TV's remote, the screen going black as he settled back in bed, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. A pretty fair representation of my work, Clark thought, reaching for the lamp on his night table. Switching off the light, Clark breathed deeply and closed his eyes. Suddenly, a searing pain exploded in his head for the second time, as during the incident on the radar dish, the flood of images pouring through his mind felt like an attack against his very existence. Again, scene after scene forced its way into his brain. Like a series of rapidly flashing snapshots, the Earth and space rising over the scarlet surface of Mars, as if he were standing on the red planet. A whip-like tentacle, sparking with electric energy. The door to an underground chamber, sealed with the large, round metallic disc, covered in complex carved patterns. A fiery explosion in a barren stretch of desert. A fenced-off military compound built into the side of a mountain, with overturned trucks and tanks scattered around the site. And once again, the flood of images ended with a pair of glowing orange eyes, beaming from a hidden face, burning a hole in his brain. Bolting upright in bed, drenched in cold sweat, Clark clutched his head in his hands, breathing heavily, desperately searching his mind for the meaning of this latest mental assault. Okay, so real quick, we do have a couple of quick things to make note of. Let me open the phone back up and get the chat. What do we got? King Shark better survive. Oh, Suicide Squad. Yeah. You know what? Let's keep King Shark alive. King Shark is a shark and he deserves justice. Does it say Clark himself is on screen, or is he just submitting stories which can be either printed or used as part of a video news story? Yeah, I mean, it didn't specify. It just said he has a job there. So it's just something that I don't think was ever mentioned in the on-screen DCAU. So that's an interesting thing to have here. So real quick, we have appearances from new characters. We've got Snapper Carr, and we have what was it? The Flash / Wally West. It's most likely Javelin, Polka Dot Man, or Arm Fall Out Boy. Mostly. In the late 70s, around the time Superman the movie was coming out, Clark was working in comics as a TV reporter. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely basis for that. I just haven't seen it in the DCAU, so it was an interesting thing. But we've got like other people from the other folks from the Daily Planet have had TV gigs as well, like what, Angela Chen. So, I'm not sweating it too much. It's just an interesting new revelation. So we've got let's see, for locations, we've got Clark Kent's apartment. Ted said something and retracted it. Must have been something mean. Let's see, Clark Kent's apartment. Then we have, oh geez, there's a Q there. There's no Q in Clark Kent's apartment. There's no Q in Clark. There we go. Wally West should have become a weatherman than a Central City forensic scientist. It doesn't bug me at all. Finally, I don't work today, so I can check out the stream. Well, hey, Keanu, nice to have you around. Then let's see, we had the Daily Planet was mentioned. And what was it? WGBS TV? WGBS TV. And then we had mentions of Hong Kong, and I think did they specify Paris, or was it just France? Paris, Hong Kong, and Paris. There we go. Krispy Kreme has a limited one-of-a-kind Mars donut today. Ooh, interesting. Wait, one of a kind? So there's only one singular... All right, Night Owl. I'm not doing this doomsday clock thing again. You're just hidden from the chat altogether. Because there's no point in this. We're not talking about doomsday clock. Like, go be mad about a years old comic elsewhere. Let's see. There were some other things that I knew needed to be listed. Oh, the car report. I'm gonna put the car report as an item. I know it's not an item, but it's not a oh, excuse me. It's not a location or an appearance of a character either. So I'm just gonna put it as an item for now. I'm not sharing any donuts, Ted, but now I want donuts. Sissy, can we get donuts after this? We've been like backsliding into eating trash lately, just because with everything with Archer and just you know, being busy with everything, it's been so much easier than just like cooking for ourselves. And now our body chemistry is just like, give me the sugar and bread, please. You have to fight for the one donut like a battle royale. There will be bloodshed. Oh no, I'm not fighting that much over a donut. Okay, so we got a couple mentions of 6 months. Let's see. Oh, can I actually? Oh my God, I can copy and paste. Can I copy and paste? Oh no, that's not what I tried to copy at all. Okay, well, I cannot copy and paste. I can highlight, but I cannot copy and paste. 6 months had passed since chapter 1. There were a couple mentions of 6 months. Would feature a 6-month progress report. Clark knew that tonight's newscast would feature a 6-month progress report. Ooh. My tummy's thinking about those donuts now. Clark knew that tonight's broadcast would feature a 6-month progress report. And then there was one more mention of 6 months. This is Snapper Carr reporting. It has now been 6 months since Senator Carter's dramatic disarmament plan. Was ratified, I believe, was how that sentence ended. Dramatic disarmament plan was ratified. Yep. Okay. Tight. And I think that's all the notes so far. See, we got the Freedom Plaza guy who was here last chapter. Yeah, so we are good to go. We can cut the donut into 13ths and share with everybody. Are there only 13 people who want this donut? Anyway, moving along, and moving like a shadow through the murky metropolis night, Batman's plane, the Bat-Wing, slowed, then silently came to rest on the foot of a deserted building. Once a thriving facility in the Star Labs electronics empire, this rundown factory now sat empty. Or, so it appeared. In the months following the attack on the Wayne Tech radar substation, Batman had scoured the wreckage for clues. He followed many leads, spending endless hours in the Batcave researching, testing hypotheses, analyzing data, slowly piecing together the puzzle, using his vast array of skills as the world's greatest detective. His hard work had finally paid off, leading him to this desolate structure in a seedy industrial neighborhood on Metropolis's west side. Emerging from the sleek black Batwing, Batman pried open a filthy window, slipped into the building, and swung down on a bat line, dropping silently to the factory's floor. Examining a workstation, he spotted several pieces of half-assembled equipment resembling the fragments of circuits he had found among the wreckage of the radar platform, each containing the now familiar red, gray, and black swirling patterns. Muffled voices from an office across the factory floor sent Batman shuffling to the shadows, his back pressed against a wall as the office door swung open, flooding the room with light. "Ra-aza tutaka!" announced the man who had called himself Al during his employment with Wayne Tech. He stepped from the office, followed closely by Lee, then Cynthia, who flipped off the light, closing the door behind her. The three walked quickly from the building. When quiet returned to the factory, Batman hurried across the dusty cement floor. Reaching the office, he slipped inside, pulling a small flashlight from his utility belt. Its narrow beam revealed a horrific sight. Bum, bum, bum. What did it reveal? Squinting in disbelief, Batman moved closer to three large pod-like sacks hanging from the ceiling. Through the sack's translucent shell, he saw what appeared to be human bodies floating in a viscous liquid. Recovering from the initial shock, Batman whipped out a razor-sharp batarang and sliced open the sack closest to him. Falling slowly through the thick, mucus-like substance in which it had been floating, the body inside slipped out, crashing to the floor with a dull thud, landing face down. Flipping the body over, Batman opened his eyes wide again when he realized that he was staring at Al, whom he had just seen leave the building. Apparently, this was the real Al. Kneeling beside him, feeling for a pulse, Batman discovered that the man was not dead, just unconscious, lost in a very deep trance. Looking back up at the two other sacks, no doubt containing the bodies of the other real technicians, the Dark Knight heard a low, menacing growl. Whirling and leaping to his feet in one swift motion, Batman saw an enormous black Rottweiler charging toward him. Moving faster than Batman had realized, the beast was on him in a flash, pinning his back to the floor. The dog lunged desperately toward him, its jaws snapping viciously just inches from his face. Using all his strength, his hands pressed against the dog's chest, Batman crawled backward, turning his head left, then right, to avoid the deadly razor-sharp fangs. Pulling his knees up to his chest in preparation, then slipping his feet under the Rottweiler, Batman unleashed a powerful thrust with his legs, sending the beast sailing across the room and crashing into a large metal desk. Recovering with remarkable speed, the dog charged again at full tilt, his back pressed against a cinder block wall. Batman timed his jump perfectly, waiting until the last second, then leapt straight up and perched on an overhead pipe as the racing canine slammed into the wall. Again, unfazed, the Rottweiler looked up and snarled at Batman, then scrambled up the wall toward him. As the beast climbed, it changed, growing larger at first, then shifting its shape, transforming from the familiar figure of the muscular dog into something strange and monstrous, a creature not of this world. Moving up the wall swiftly, its forelimbs somehow finding traction on the painted surface, the alien attacker reached Batman in seconds, knocking him from the pipe. Tumbling toward the ground below the Dark Knight. Goddamn, I'm having a real hard time with punctuation today. I'm just like blowing through commas and not noticing my periods, and I don't know why. I think it's because I'm too busy thinking about that donut. Tumbling toward the ground below, the Dark Knight bounced off a high wall, then crashed into a rusty metal drum, landing on the solid cement floor. The remarkably agile creature dropped to the floor beside him. Its huge head, long teeth, big chest, and swirls of red, gray, and black filled Batman's blurred field of vision. Swatting at Batman with a powerful paw, the beast sent him hurling through an interior window, shards of shattered glass exploding everywhere. Sliding across the floor in the next room, Batman crashed into a tall bookcase and toppled the massive wooden structure over onto him, knocking the breath from his battered body. Fumbling painfully with his utility belt, the fingers of his one free hand grasped the signal watch Superman had given him months earlier. Struggling to stay conscious, Batman pressed a tiny button on its side before blacking out. Alright, so that's another page break, so I can catch up with chat, drop a couple new notes, you know, that kind of stuff. There was, I guess we have, since we had specified everyone as their Invader versions last chapter, we do have Al, the real Al, in this chapter. Well, hello, Biljana Calvin. See, a lot of Ted and Mac chatting with each other. Is James out of town this week? No Tuesday stream, and no one has jumped down my throat in the chat box all week. There was a reason that James didn't stream on Tuesday, and I'm trying to remember what it is. I think he was trying to finish off the rest of the Legacies issue, because we're dropping that this week. That should be live on Sunday, I believe. So there was just a couple finishing touches to take care of, and he has been focusing on that. Oh, by the way, I haven't mentioned it yet. If you haven't liked the stream yet, go ahead and like it. That way it helps us out in the algorithm and all that fun stuff. Let's see. There were a couple other things to put in from here. I'm trying to think. There's the Star Labs, and there was the Bat-Wing, but I think that might have been it for that little section of the chapter. Let's see. Who do you think is the most shadiest organization in the DCAU? Cadmus, Intergang, the Society of Shadows, or the Justice Lords? Well, I think that Cadmus definitely had reason for existing, but you know, the fact that Brainiac was secretly pulling the strings kind of sours that. But I do think that there's purpose for, in a world with superheroes, for a Cadmus-like entity to exist. Intergang, though, was like working directly with Darkseid and like was about it. So I'd say they're probably like the shadiest of them all. Something kind of crazy that was just pointed out is that since Batman Beyond and the Batman Beyond Justice League lineup is canon in the main DC continuity, that means John dating Hawkgirl will happen. As of now, John and Hawkgirl have almost zero interaction in actual canon. I don't think that necessarily means that at all. There's very much the possibility that they're gonna go the original route that that Warhawk had, where he is either a descendant or inspired by Hawkman. So that's a possibility. Unless they've officially named him Rex Stewart in the comics as well, then perhaps not. It's been a while since I've kept up with Batman Beyond Rebirth, so I'm not too sure what the status is of all that right now. Let's see. Oh, y'all are just going on about Doomsday Clock again. Let's not do that. I literally just like I've had to mute multiple people in this stream because y'all just keep wanting to go on about Doomsday Clock when it's not relevant to anything that's going on. So let's not do that right now. Anywho, I think that was everything from that section. I think, well, there was a mention of what, months ago that he got that signal launch. Where were we? That wasn't the right page. Squinting in disbelief. Let's see. His one free hand grasps the signal watch Superman had given him months earlier. Yeah, so I'll pop that in here. His one free hand grasped the signal watch Superman had given him months earlier. Yeah, I mean, like, I've got no problem with, like, people disliking Doomsday Clock or you know, having conversations about it, but like the other night this guy just like consistently was trying to derail the entire thing to just be and I hate Doomsday Clock and we need to talk about how much I hate Doomsday Clock the entire time, and he just came back just a little bit ago, and I'd rather not you know, just deal with things being derailed when there's you know, there's something going on that's not Doomsday Clock. You know, maybe one day in the future we'll have a Doomsday Clock live stream, but this isn't it right now. I just like I don't want to let that guy's derailing have worked you know, after muting him. But anyway, unable to sleep following the second psychic attack, Clark Kent leaned over his bathroom sink, cold water gushing from the faucet. Staring into the mirror at his weary eyes, he cupped his hands, tilted his head, and splashed water on his face again and again. As Superman, he had faced foes of all kinds, enemies with great power and weapons of inconceivable force. But the latest assaults were different. Somehow, someone had found a way to get inside his head, to barrage his mind with painful blows and disturbing images, and at the moment, there seemed to be something he could do, or nothing he could do about it. Grabbing a towel and dabbing his face, Clark was suddenly alarmed by the faint beeping picked up by his super hearing. The signal watch, he realized instantly. I didn't think Bruce would ever use it. Something must really be wrong. Putting aside his own problem for the moment, Clark donned his red and blue suit and took to the sky above Metropolis. He was almost glad for the break from his own troubles, though he was quite worried about his old friend. With his super hearing focused on the steady signal of the watch, Superman followed the frequency, weaving between skyscrapers, heading west as the sound grew louder. Arriving at the Star Labs factory, the Man of Steel flew through the open window Batman had used earlier and landed on the building's open main floor. A quick scan of the area with his X-ray vision revealed Batman pinned beneath the heavy bookcase, left for dead by his alien assailant. "Oh no!" Superman muttered, dashing to the bookcase, tossing it aside with ease, then kneeling down next to his fallen comrade. Batman groaned weakly as Superman slowly lifted his head. Blood was smeared across his face and cowl. "Batman!" the Man of Steel cried, glad that at least his friend was still alive. "I'm going to get you to a doctor right away!" Scooping Batman gently into his arms, Superman turned to leave, just as a giant flaming asteroid appeared, impossibly outside the window, lighting up the night sky. Was there blood like that in the cartoon? I do not remember. I feel like I should have rewatched Secret Origins before going into this book. That way I could have it fresh. But so it goes. But okay, nothing really from that last little bit. So, Chapter 3. Cthulhu! The massive asteroid slammed into the center of Metropolis, tearing a trench through dozens of city blocks, spewing flaming destruction in its wake, before finally coming to rest. Speeding from the factory, heading toward the rising flames in the distance, Superman wondered what new horror had struck his beloved city. He was also still extremely concerned about getting Batman some help. The wail of sirens split the night as emergency vehicles raced to the scene of horrendous devastation. Cars screeched to a halt, just inches from the smoldering surface of the enormous asteroid, which protruded from the asphalt, rising 10 stories into the sky. Terrified drivers and passengers fled, confused by the surreal sight of the massive rock in the middle of their city. Arriving at the impact site, Superman was momentarily overwhelmed by the suddenness and scope of the destruction. Spying an ambulance parked by a curb, Superman dropped from the sky. An EMS worker who was pulling a stretcher from the back of the ambulance was startled by the Man of Steel's sudden arrival. He gingerly placed Batman on the stretcher. "He needs help! Medic!" Superman said, gently laying Batman's head on a pillow. Well, you know what? He can gently lay it on the pillow while being stressed in his voice. That's fine. "What happened?" the paramedic asked, staring in shock at the two costume heroes. "I'm not sure," Superman replied, vanishing in a red and blue blur before the EMS worker could say another word. Blue blur, huh? Blue blur. I wonder why that sounds familiar. Blue blur. Sonic is canon. Sonic is canon to the DCAU, and you can't tell me otherwise. Pulling out her stethoscope, the young paramedic listened to Batman's lungs and heart. Satisfied that his breathing and heartbeat were normal, she removed the instrument from her ears, allowing it to drop to her shoulders. Tempted by curiosity and an apparent once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, she slowly reached for Batman's mask. His gloved hand shot up, clamping on the medic's wrist with a vice-like grip. She gasped, terrified by the firm grasp and iron will of the blood-stained hero. "Don't even think about it," he warned. The medic nodded rapidly, and Batman released his grip. Slowly, she proceeded with her first aid treatment, working nervously as Batman's piercing gaze followed her every move. Whoop, 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 wee, 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 wee. Police helicopters rushed past overhead, and fire trucks screamed to the crash site. A huge gash in the ground that stretched back for half a mile from the immense asteroid. Leaping from their trucks, firefighters connected their hoses and set about dousing the flames in the many buildings ignited by the arrival of the unwelcome visitor from space. Then, they turned their attention to the fires that still engulfed the asteroid itself. What if Superman need a doctor for its telepathic cry for help, even if they could take him to the hospital? Unbreakable skin. And then don't think, okay, well then I won't think about it. Maddie, what is a DCEU movie that you would like to see come to life instead of a Justice League Snyder cut? Well, I mean, so I think there's room for multiple things, you know. If people want to be excited about a Snyder cut, they can be excited about a Snyder cut. And I don't think that necessarily one thing has to take the place of another. I'm really interested to see what's up with the New Gods movie that's in the works. And I'm hoping that like they're not really held back by whatever Snyder is doing personally. So I mean, if there is any kind of either or situation, that would be it. But I did see this really cool Batman DCEU fan poster recently that I saw it and I was just like, God damn. If we could have just a Batman DCEU film with a competent writer, there's so many good actors like that have already kind of filled in Batman's cast of characters, and I would love to see that. But I don't think we'll get that anytime soon, especially with the fact that they've decided they're already gonna go, you know, and do the Batman and have a separate out-of-universe Batman situation going on. Among the multitude of official vehicles arriving on the scene, a TV remote truck screeched to a halt. Snapper Carr rushed from the truck, his cameraman 2 steps behind him. Reaching a line of barricades, Carr joined the other reporters on the scene and leaned forward, his microphone extended. "Any statements?" shouted one newspaper reporter. "Where did it come from?" Snapper Carr asked. "Will the governor call for a state of emergency?" Ignoring the rapid-fire questions, the police struggled to hold back the eager swarm of journalists. The firefighters soon had the asteroid's blaze under control. Although flames were no longer visible, rippling waves of heat and acrid, foul-smelling smoke still poured from its craggy surface. 2 police officers in full riot gear peered into the trench, then craned their necks to look up at the enormous boulder. "Look at the size of that thing!" one cop commented, leaning closer for a better look. "Stay back," his partner warned. "It's still incredibly hot." As the 2 officers looked on, a burst of black smoke gushed from a crack suddenly forming in the side of the asteroid. "What's going on?" the first cop wondered, staring at the widening crevice on the rock surface. A huge mechanical limb, at least as tall as the asteroid itself, burst forth from the crack. Like a giant creature hatching from an enormous egg, it was thick and white, covered with swirling patches of gray, red, and black circuitry, and extended from the asteroid high over the officers' heads. As the cops gaped in astonishment, the massive metal leg bent downward, its wide foot threatening to crush them where they stood. Both men screamed, frozen with fear. Suddenly, a red and blue streak swooped down from the sky, gathered the cops up, and carried them to safety. The massive alien leg slammed into the ground, shaking the earth, toppling barricades, officers, and reporters. "Hang on!" Superman shouted, grasping the 2 cops firmly, then touching down a short distance away. Excuse me. Superman looked back at the asteroid in time to see another crack form in its surface and a second identical leg protrude through the opening, heading towards Snapper Carr's remote TV truck. Standing his ground, Carr watched the mechanical leg approach, yelling back to his cameraman, "Did you get that shot? I want this footage!" Scrambling for cover at the last second, Carr looked back to see the leg squash his empty truck as if it were made of paper. His cameraman captured the devastation for the whole world to see. As millions watched on TV, a third leg bashed through the rocky crust of the asteroid, followed by a giant kidney-shaped pod that rested like a strange, misshapen head atop the 3 legs. Now, completely free from the asteroid, the huge robotic creature extended to its full height, towering 20 stories above the pavement. "Incredible!" Snapper Carr reported as the terrible images before him beamed around the globe. "It appears to be some kind of machine!" A section of the walking pod opened, a dark red circle expanding in its center. Something seems to be opening on the machine, and zack thoom! Without warning, a searing plasma blast shot from the eye-like opening, vaporizing 2 nearby police cars and tossing a third into the air. The car plummeted back to Earth, then exploded in a blazing orange fireball. The police opened fire on the pod with every available weapon, but their bullets bounced harmlessly off the menacing alien invader. "It appears that the police can't stop this monster," Carr told his viewers, and this reporter wonders if anything can. As if on cue, Superman streaked toward the pod, fists clenched, eyes focused intently on its deadly aperture. The pod fired another blast, striking Superman squarely in the chest, driving him backward through the sky. Skidding across a rooftop, the Man of Steel tumbled helplessly, crashing into the sidewalk, opening a small crater from the impact of his landing. A crowd quickly gathered around the fallen hero, stunned that Earth's greatest champion appeared to be powerless against this seemingly unstoppable malevolent force. As the police continued their ineffective barrage, the Walker pod crushed squad cars and emergency vehicles, firing plasma blasts at buildings and people. Ignoring the devastation raining down all around him, Snapper Carr shouted at his cameraman, who gawked at the approaching monster, slack-jawed and stunned. "Come on, stay focused!" Carr yelled. "Are you getting this thing?" Shaken back to the task at hand, the cameraman lifted his camera to his eye, and once again, images of the destruction flashed around the world. Back at the ambulance, the paramedic worked quickly, cleaning Batman's wounds. "From the looks of those scars, you've already been stitched back together once or twice," she commented. Have you seen Wonder Woman 1984? It wasn't bad. I haven't watched it yet, actually. Sissy and I have been doing a watch through of the DCEU, and that's the one we've got left. Though, also, to be fair, we have been drinking copious amounts of alcohol while doing this watch through, because we thought that it'd be fun to have content out of us drunkenly reacting to the DCEU. So, even though we've watched all of them, there's definitely like a shoddy memory spots through the ones that we have seen. Sonic would beat Flash in a race in the DCAU. Now he's confirmed in it. Will it canon? Sonic would beat Flash. That's true. One of the writers at DC recently was talking about how the DCAU is like the idealized DC universe because of how streamlined and unconfusing it is. It's a good thing he hasn't seen this channel. I mean, it is pretty streamlined in comparison to other ongoing DC universes. I'll give it that much. There's a couple confusing things here and there, but most of that's relegated to tie-in material that you don't necessarily have to. You don't have to read or experience to get the full narrative from the on-screen stuff. Boom! A scorching plasma blast slammed into a building just above them, sending smoking chunks of stone, steel, and glass cascading onto the street surrounding the stretcher. As the medic looked up in alarm, at the burning building, Batman pressed a signaling device on his utility belt, commanding the Batwing to autopilot its way to a position directly overhead. When the bat-shaped jet arrived, the Dark Knight raised his arm and fired a grappling batarang that attached to the underside of the aircraft. Then he shot straight up off the gurney, pulled by the thin rope toward the waiting plane. The medic spoke before glancing back down. "We'd better get out of here before..." Turning back to her patient to finish her thought, she saw only an empty stretcher. "Batman?" she asked, looking around, her voice filled with wonder. Glancing back up, she spotted her patient vanishing into the open bay doors in the bottom of the Batwing. The doors slid shut, and Batman zoomed into the fray. As police units scattered, scrambling to survive the relentless onslaught, the rampaging pod fired random plasma blasts, destroying buildings and sweeping attacks. Batman lined up his targeting computer as the Batwing swooped towards the pod. Then he fired 2 Stinger missiles. The powerful warhead streaked toward the center of the pod. Kathoom! Detonating against the walker simultaneously, the missiles erupted in flaming blasts, engulfing the alien battle machine in fire. But when the smoke cleared, the powerful missiles had not even dented the pod's thick hull. And now, the towering walker was aware of a new adversary. Following the Batwing, it circled for another pass. The pod fired plasma blasts at the speeding craft. Banking sharply, wiggling the jet's wings, Batman narrowly avoided the return fire. "How do we stop this thing?" he wondered as he manipulated the plane. 3 blocks away, Superman slowly climbed from the hole he had created with his landing. Straining with the effort, the Man of Steel took to the sky once more, flying back toward the pod just in time to see a plasma blast tear a gaping hole in the famed globe atop the Daily Planet building. Man, it's taking its time buffering pages today. It didn't take this long last week. I feel like. A jolt of anger shot through Superman. He watched as pieces of the Metropolis landmark crumbled to the ground. They were followed by the large steel letters that had spelled out the name of the great metropolitan newspaper that had served as Clark Kent's place of business and second home since his arrival in the city many years ago. Infuriated, Superman reached the pod, unleashing 2 earth-shattering blows to the walker's midsection. Stunned, the creature fell back, toppling into the stone anchorage of the Metropolis Bridge. Landing atop his fallen adversary, the Man of Steel grabbed the pod's hull, tearing an opening in its thick metal skin. But before he could open a gash large enough for him to get the alien's inner workings, the pod fired a plasma blast at Superman, who was now less than a foot from the source of the discharge. Boom! The force of this latest blast catapulted Superman off the pod, sending him crashing through 3 buildings. He finally landed in the street, buried under tons of asphalt. Lifting itself from the anchorage, the pod regained its footing, stepping back into the battle. Swinging around for another pass, Batman guided the Batwing on a collision course with the alien walker, firing off 2 additional I accidentally hit the next button. Firing off 2 additional missiles, the Dark Knight pulled hard on the controls, sending the Batwing into a steep climb, avoiding a series of plasma blasts. Looking down though, Batman saw his latest barrage exploded with no effort on the mechanical menace. Snapper Carr had watched in shock as Superman took the full brunt of a point-blank blast. As with most people who grew up in Metropolis, Carr had worshipped the Man of Steel for as long as he could remember. As a kid, he had pretended to be Superman, pinning a bath towel around his neck, running around the house, imagining he was flying. When he grew up and became a reporter, one of Carr's first interviews was with his hero. Superman couldn't have been nicer, and Carr never forgot that kindness the great champion had shown him. The thought now that the protector of Metropolis had been defeated was almost more than he could bear. He had to do something short of taking on the monster himself. He had to help Superman. Carr raced through the devastation, searching for his fallen hero, not as a TV reporter, but as a citizen of this great city that had fallen under attack. Running in the direction in which he had seen Superman propelled, Carr soon found a crowd gathered around a mound of broken asphalt. Heaving away chunks of what had once been the street, Carr jumped in, grabbing debris and flinging it off the mound. Okay, so really quick, I want to make note of this. So the book says that that Superman had come to Metropolis many years ago. But at the same time, like that's fine, because obviously many years ago can mean a plethora of things. But at the same time, they're saying that he's been there since Snapper Carr was a child, right? And that doesn't necessarily sit right with me. Like I don't think we know how old Snapper Carr is, or like how old in his childhood he was when Superman got there. But like, let's say he was like 12 and is now like 20 or something, right? Like that would be an 8-year jump, and I don't have Superman the Animated Series timeline as well as I maybe could. So, you know, maybe that works, but I know, like, with how we've currently got stuff like Little Girl Lost and like the tail end of Superman occurring in 1999 and Justice League kind of picking up almost immediately afterwards, that just doesn't sit right with me. Maybe it's possible that he's been there for a while. But I don't know. I wish we had information on Snapper Carr's age. That could probably help give a little bit of a clue towards all that. What are your thoughts on Ben 10 Alien Force? Is it good? Is it bad? I have not watched Alien Force yet. I just finished watching the original series like a week or two ago. And I'm probably gonna go back and rewatch it again before I start writing this this review for the for Watchtower Database content. But I did not really like the original series on my first watch through. I'm hoping that Alien Force is better, especially since Dwayne McDuffie is attached to it. But I cannot give an opinion on it quite yet. Do you think Secret Origins is one of the weakest JL episodes from the first series? The tone of it is very different, even from other episodes in season 1, especially the way they defeat the Imperium so cheesy. I mean, honestly, I feel like Secret Origins is one of the best episodes of the first season, and that it was one of the episodes where they got the tone correct, and then they kind of fumbled a lot in the rest of the first season. But that's just me, though. Are you also working on the Casually Comics crossover, or is that mostly a TED thing? I'm not entirely sure what Casually Comics crossover there is, so I guess it must be mostly a TED thing. I do know that James had been talking about doing a crossover with her for maybe a Will It Canon or something along those lines, but I don't remember the specifics, and I think I think he was going to reach out for her to be a voice in a video that I was doing. So there's a couple different things in the works, but I didn't know of anything that that Ted was attached to. The thing is, it doesn't even introduce them that well. Green Lantern and Hawkgirl just show up, and that's it for them. I mean, and did you really want an hour long? And this person is here, and this person is here, and this person, right? Like, they don't introduce the Flash either. I mean, like, I know Flash got his own episode in Superman the Animated Series and everything, but that doesn't even really count as an introduction. He's just there. Like, I don't think that necessarily matters, personally. Y'all ever thought of doing a rewrite of some of the episodes to make it totally fit Secret Origins better? Not in full detail, but in some degree. So I did pitch the idea to James a while back, based off of sometimes Timm Talk Pod does, like, the Timm Talk podcast does a thing where if an episode is pretty bad, they kind of do like a rewrite of it. And then I've pitched the idea to James of letting them kind of do something like that for the channel, but at the time, like, we just do not have enough editors to do too much more than what we're already doing. Like, we already have our video schedule lineup, like, kind of solidified through summertime, because of all of the ideas that we all have, and it's it makes it hard to add in new stuff like that. Like, I definitely think we do need to add a new long form editor to the channel soon. That's just my opinion. James is kind of picky on stuff like that, though. I do know Josiah, who has been in the chat, I don't know if he's in here right now, has been working on kind of trying to figure out the Watchtower database editing style, and has been doing a great job with the stream clips. But for the time being, we just don't have the capacity to add in, you know, too much more stuff. You guys and Sasha are my favorite DC tubers. Absolutely hyped for literally any collaboration, even just if she does a voice in some video. Yeah, I haven't watched her stuff too much, but I know James is a fan. I personally, I've just not been keeping up with other pop culture YouTubers. Most of the stuff I watch on YouTube is just politics stuff, and even then, I've kind of been like backed up away from all of that in the past month or so, just because I've been so deep down in writing and all that kind of stuff. I've got like 3 or 4 different scripts, all at various stages of production, because I've been trying to go into deeply productive mode. Yeah. Where were we? There we are. When the pile was down to one final enormous slab, the helpers realized that even if they worked together, the piece was too big for them to move. Looking on helplessly, the crowd watched as the huge section, half the size of a football field, moved, slightly at first, then suddenly in one swift motion, lifting off, revealing Superman. The Man of Steel looked shaken, but he had obviously recovered enough strength to hoist the heavy lid off of his would-be tomb. "Superman!" Carr cried. "Are you all right?" Superman looked back at the pod, which was still blasting everything in its path. "Whatever that thing is," he groaned, pain and fatigue evident in his voice. "I've got to stop it." Carr's face turned pale, his eyes opening wide in amazement. "Look!" he shouted, pointing at the asteroid several blocks away. Superman and the others looked on in horror as the asteroid cracked open again, and another pod emerged, one leg at a time, each first stretching out, then planting itself on the ground. Finally, the body of the second pod came into view, followed by a third, which joined the others, unleashing plasma blasts among the fiery wreckage. It's not safe around here, Superman said to Carr. Get out while I... At that moment, the now familiar pain tore through Superman's skull. Clutching his head, collapsing to his knees, the Man of Steel screamed in agony as the latest flood of images ripped through his mind. The sprawling wasteland of Mars, explosions in the desert, the same military compound he had seen during the last psychic assault, this time filled with soldiers firing weapons, a gleaming high-tech research lab, and the eyes again, the glowing orange eyes. Only this time, a face emerged from the haze, a green-skinned face rising to a sharply pointed skull. Finally, the meaning of the images that had plagued Superman for months crystallized in his mind. At last, he knew where he had to go and what he needed to do. Rising to his feet, the pain subsiding, Superman stared straight ahead. Are you okay? Carr asked, waving his hand in front of Superman's glassy eyes. The Man of Steel remained motionless, unblinking. Superman! Without a word, Superman rose into the sky, streaking into the distance, vanishing from view. His flight path took him past the soaring Bat-Wing. Where's he going? Batman wondered, watching his friend disappear over the horizon. Shaken from his thoughts by the deafening roar of jet engines, Batman looked out his window to see a squadron of Air Force fighter jets swooping toward the pods, firing missiles, glancing to the street below. He also spotted tanks and jeeps carrying heavy ground artillery, rolling toward the three walkers. Speeding beside the rumbling tanks, bouncing along in his jeep, General Wells barked orders into his walkie-talkie, clearly in command of this operation. Tactical 7, he shouted. Full frontal assault! Responding instantly, the tanks let loose with a blistering barrage of firepower. Realizing there was nothing more he could do here, and glad the military had finally arrived, Batman banked the Batwing sharply to his right, zooming off in the direction he had seen Superman fly. The images of Snapper Carr reporting live from downtown Metropolis filled television screens around the world. Walker pods could be seen over his shoulder, firing random blasts at a city that blazed all around them. After hours of intense battling, the heart of Metropolis lies in ruin, Carr reported as a plasma blast destroyed a tank behind him. The military has arrived, but seems unable to stop the deadly attacks. Meanwhile, we're getting reports that similar asteroids containing additional Walker pods have landed all around the world, and more pods are arriving by the hour. The news report went live to each scene of devastation. It showed explosions, craters, and pods in the desert around the pyramids in Egypt, and smoldering asteroids setting the lush jungle in Malaysia ablaze. Returning to the image of Carr in Metropolis, the report wrapped up. As the devastation continues, Carr said solemnly, the question on everyone's lips is, where is Superman? Alright, so we've got a couple things there to add at the very end. Oh, that was actually chapter 3, so this needs to come down here. Give that a big whoopsie doodle. And then, let's see, we've had General Wells already, but the Air Force is new to here. And we've had now mentions of Egypt and Malaysia. And those alien entities have been formally dubbed Walker pods. So there we go. And I think that's all the all the notes for chapter 3, really. With that, it's getting time to call things to a close. Hold on, real quick. There's a couple more notes in the chat. I want to help with that TBH. Oh, with the editing situation, that would definitely be something to chit chat with James about. I don't know your editing prowess, or you know, if you'd be able to match the style that James is looking for. So you know, that's conversation to have with him. What's your favorite DCAU movie? Oh man, I'm trying to think. There's a lot of good ones. I think probably if I had to choose one, probably Return of the Joker. Real fucking good movie there. Have a great one, Maddie. Thanks for giving us something to do on a snowy Thursday. Well, hey, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for all of you for hanging out. But yeah, I gotta go ahead, get some lunch into me, and go over to Best Buy to buy a new webcam and keyboard so that I am prepared for when I get this this new computer from James tomorrow. So hopefully on Saturday, any kind of lagginess with me and the camera will be attended to. And things will be fresh and exciting and new and shinier. But yeah, you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm gonna go ahead and pop on out. Goodbye to you too, Danny. And let me mute myself.